Okay, so I just wanted to make a video speaking on the DJ Khaled, father of Assad situation currently brewing. I don't know if I'm going to make any other follow-up videos to the situation in the future, or if this is just going to be a lone video, and I'll keep my opinions posted on Twitter or something like that. If you're watching this video, you're most likely familiar with who I am on Twitter, but if you don't know, my Twitter is in the description if you want to catch up with the situation. It's pretty much everywhere right now, and you can look it up immediately. I'm going to explain the situation if you don't feel like doing that, but there should be like an article or two in the description, basically detailing what's going on better than I ever could. But I do want to weigh my opinion on the situation, as I promised I would, and I'm just very intrigued by what's currently happening in this current climate. So we start with the debut of Igor releasing on May 17th, 2019, just a few weeks ago, almost a month ago. Tyler, the Creator's fifth solo studio album, was released on May 17th and essentially nabbed him his first number one album on the Billboard 200. Now, the Billboard 200 updates every single week, and after about a week or so, new albums, debut on the charts. Now, this can vary from any other genre or different artist. Tyler the Creator, for instance, has never had a number one album on the Billboard 200, which, knowing his music or his most recent music, you almost wouldn't believe, considering how big of an album Flower Boy was. But despite it leaking, I believe 2 weeks before the album actually released, and almost being thwarted by Meek Mill, he did hit the number two spot, only sitting behind Lana Del Rey's latest record, which is still very impressive, especially considering how popular of an artist Meek Mill is and how many charting songs and albums he's had before Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator only had two songs on the Hot 100 prior to Igor, them being Who Dat Boy when it came out as a single alongside 911. 911 did not hit the charts, and also I think it was Okra, which came out a year later as a throwaway. And those are the only two songs he had in the Hot 100 prior to Igor. Now, Igor had a half album bomb, I believe. I don't know exactly what songs hit the Hot 100. All I do know is that Earthquake was probably the highest debut of that week. At first, it was projected to debut in the top 10, but I think it was number 13 that it actually peaked at. But that is aside from the main subject at hand, which is Father of Assad. So I'm explaining the Igor situation because it does have to do with Father of Assad not hitting number one. So Tyler the Creator never having a number one album is extremely confusing to me, considering how popular he's been. For almost a decade, he's been making solo music, releasing his Bastard mixtape on Christmas Day about 10 years ago. And after having his past five, or his previous four albums hit the top five on the Billboard 200, you would expect him to have at least, a couple more charting songs or have Flower Boy hit number one on the charts. But no, Igor, his first album to, really pull his feet off, which is impressive. And it does tie for my favorite Tyler album, so I can't really say I'm upset about that. I'm very happy that he's getting way more success, and hopefully he has a number one song someday, at least maybe a top 10 song. But, very happy for Tyler. Now, this is important because at first it was unexpected from DJ Khaled. Now, I don't know what the ratio was, considering how many people thought either Igor was going to hit number one or how many people thought Father of Assad was going to hit number one. Now, I didn't really expect Father of Assad to hit number one for a couple reasons. One of the main ones being the hype from the two main singles, Top Off with Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Future, and No Brainer with Chance the Rapper, Justin Bieber, and Quavo. I didn't expect the album to hit number one because the singles came out way too early for the album to really have any hype. compared to Major Key and Grateful, his last two releases, which did hit #1 on the Billboard 200, they didn't really have much competition, and they had giant singles. Major Key had stuff like For Free and I Got the Keys, and Grateful had a giant song in it with I'm the One, and of course there's also uh, Wild Thoughts. And those four singles that I just mentioned were gigantic in the time they came out. Meanwhile, Top Off and No Brainer, while No Brainer did just barely hit, I think it was on the year end for 2018's Hot 100. No one remembers Top Off, and No Brainer is barely a hit. Debuted in the top five, but it just slowly shredded down immediately. Unlike I'm the One, which stayed on the charts for a very long time, and which I don't mind because I do enjoy that song. But my opinion doesn't really, weigh into what's actually happening right now. So I'll try to, go away from that. But Father of Assad debuted at #2 on the charts, unlike his last two albums, which both debuted at #1 with very impressive sales weeks. Despite his debuting at #2, he did debut with 137,000 equivalent album units. And whether or not you interpret that as impressive, it's up to you. I don't really know um, if I consider that impressive or not, but in terms of DJ Khaled, I don't think he considers it too impressive because he wanted to hit #1. So that's the story we're talking about today. Not too long following after the Billboard 200 stories came out, Tyler the Creator was publicly celebrating his #1 album, which he should. And DJ Khaled was very verbally upset on his Instagram on a post now deleted very quickly after being uploaded. DJ Khaled badmouthed Igor, not directly, but called it some sort of mysterious music, and just kept plugging his album, despite it obviously not being as good as Igor, in my opinion. He kept saying this is something you're going to hear in a barber shop, which was one of the most confusing lines I've ever really heard, because that's such an old testament to how music is being played right now. I don't really think he understands the modern wavelength in terms of how people listen to music. I don't know if he still thinks people listen to radio. I don't know if he still thinks people listen to Pandora. I don't know what he thinks people does, but I don't think people are listening. I don't think people are going to barbershops to listen to DJ Khaled albums. I don't even think people are trying to listen to DJ Khaled albums anymore. It's just kind of weird to expect people to go to barbershops to hear a Cardi B and 21 Savage collaboration. If I wanted to hear a Cardi B and 21 Savage collab I actually liked, I'd go to Cardi B's album because that actually has a really good 21 Savage and Cardi B collaboration that Cardi B actually curated herself. But besides that, I wanted to like Father of Assad for many reasons. One of them being I didn't hate either single, Top Off or No Brainer. I prefer the singles that he tried on Grateful way more, which were Shining and I'm the One. I do really like those songs. But these two are just kind of, a little inferior. But the rest of the album isn't really that impressive. Trying to land SZA on a remix beat, if you will, of Miss Jackson by the Outkast from 19 years ago is really a stretch. I can't really say I'm a huge fan of the beat work. It's just a really weird pitch of the original beat, and the drum sounds disgusting and not in the good way. Um, I don't appreciate Chris Brown on the album at all. Chris Brown is not really one of my favorite musicians, not really one of my favorite people, and he continues to be one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard, and he just drowns out everything, including the beat, on every song he's on, and not even Lil Wayne can save that song he's on. It's just a huge mess. I could go on and on about how much I don't enjoy Father of Assad, but I'm pretty sure DJ Khaled would call me out for not listening to it in a barbershop if he saw this video. Um, um, DJ Khaled very upset at Tyler the Creator, or no, he wasn't very upset at Tyler the Creator. He was upset at Tyler the Creator's album hitting #1. I'm sure he hasn't heard of it or heard it at all. He just saw that he didn't debut at #1 and basically just went after what did hit #1, which was a far superior album in Igor. But after this post got deleted, a lot of people, clowned him on Twitter. A lot of memes were made, and he was rightfully called out for being an ungrateful man-child. And to put it bluntly, I don't think that he didn't deserve this. The jokes did get a little old after a while, but I just don't see why he would continue. Now, to this day, I always thought that being ungrateful can only get you so far. And DJ Khaled continues to prove me wrong, as he is apparently planning a monster lawsuit against the Billboard company for his album not hitting #1. Now, not only is this one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, it's also one of the best things I've ever heard in terms of attracting attention and being petty, because I've never seen this before in my life. I know I've only been on Earth for so long, but I've never been alive to see someone actively try to sue a company for his mediocre album not debuting higher than an actually good album. It's really impressive to see how far someone will go for attention, and for that I do have to acknowledge how impressive this is. This is really one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in terms of feats and stretching for attention, and it's really getting DJ Khaled, plays, because I didn't listen to Father of Assad before I heard about this story. So when I did, I decided to check it out since it's so good and it has to be heard in barbershops. And I listened to it, and I didn't really understand what he's going crazy over. So this story came out that he's planning to sue Billboard for this. Nothing about the lawsuit has come out, and I doubt it's actually going to happen. If it does, I can eat my words. If it doesn't, then you can eat my ass. So the latest development in this whole thing is people debating whether or not it has to do with merch sales, and apparently Billboard's conducting a whole thing dedicated to merch sales and albums just because of this, because it was a giant thing relating to a year ago, which everyone remembers, the whole debate between Nicki Minaj and Travis Scott for Astroworld, and Queen not debuting at #1, and Astroworld still staying ahead of it despite being like a week older than it, I think. This is way worse than that whole situation because, for one, Nicki Minaj isn't trying to sue Billboard, and #2, Queen actually did have some nice tracks. You can come and attack me for that, but I actually did enjoy a few of the beats. Nicki Minaj was not really the worst person in the world at that point in her career. She was getting rightfully clowned for what she said, but not as much as DJ Khaled should be getting clowned. So, in terms of this whole merchandise situation, Tyler the Creator did bundle his album with a few things, but after I looked into it and I looked into what DJ Khaled bundled his album with, I was dumbfounded that people are still defending Khaled in this situation. So Tyler essentially bundled Igor, I think a day or two before it actually released, with a poster and a sticker, the vinyl, and the CD. And I don't really understand what people would be mad at this for, considering it's his product. And the poster and the sticker and the vinyl and the CD, those are all Tyler the Creator products. It's not something he's plugging with, and it's not something he's signing with. He doesn't get extra boost from this. It is literally just his product. Meanwhile, DJ Khaled bundling with some sort of energy drink company, he basically came out and said, yes, this is my plan to hit number one. But you can't blame Tyler for bundling his album with something if you're bundling it with something that's not a DJ Khaled product, but he's bundling it with something that's a Tyler the Creator product. I don't think anyone getting an energy drink from a company I've never heard of is really looking to get a DJ Khaled album with their energy drink. But when I purchased the Tyler the Creator vinyl, I was very excited to get a poster and a sticker. Now that's just me, but I'm pretty sure anyone else who got the Tyler the Creator vinyl or CD is also looking forward to that poster and sticker or whatever. But main point I wanted to conclude the video on: DJ Khaled is undoubtedly one of the smartest businessmen I've ever seen. He's been lazy and under the public eye for quite some time. And even if he does get a few production credits on his album, even if he does curate a lot of things, he is extremely lazy and does not really put too much of a hand in his own quote unquote music. And for that, he's been really easy to joke about and keep in attention. But overall, I don't see why this would happen. I can't understand, other than to get attention for not getting enough attention for your album being mediocre. I don't know. I don't get this at all. Being angry over Tyler the Creator making a better album than you and debuting higher, rightfully, is just extremely stupid, and I don't know any other way to word it. It's just one of the most man-childish things I've ever seen, and DJ Khaled is a lazy person who put out a lazy album that somehow went to number two. I don't even know how it went to number two over a lot of better albums. It should have not even hit the Billboard 200 at all. I don't really see why anyone would listen to it after, Grateful got a lot of flack, and even then I thought that album was, mediocre. But yeah, Father of Assad is not a good album. I would not suggest listening to it. Don't stream it. Don't buy it with an energy drink. Don't listen to it in a barber shop. Don't listen to it anywhere. It is something that's not worth your time. It's not really. It doesn't have any songs that you haven't heard before. If you want to hear, Chris Brown songs, go listen to Chris Brown. If you want to hear Cardi B and 21 Savage, go listen to that song and that album. Don't listen to DJ Khaled. Don't give him what he wants. Stop trying to basically impress upon us your opinion on his bundle sales, because I've already talked about the bundle sales and the difference between Tyler the Creator's Igor and DJ Khaled's Father Assad in terms of the bundle sales. You can look it up if you want. Anyways, that's basically it. I'm not going to make another video on the subject as far as I know. I don't want to. I don't want this to develop into any drama on the internet or anything. I doubt it will, because I don't know who's going to watch this. But if I have any other differing opinions or anything changes or anything new happens, I probably will be talking about it on Twitter. So you can find my Twitter in the description of this video, and I will continue to post videos about different subjects, but just probably not this, because I don't feel like talking about this anymore.